Victoria Newman walked into the room with a sense of purpose, her heels clicking sharply on the floor. Her eyes immediately met Nick as he stood near the window, staring out at the sprawling Newman Enterprises complex. There was no mistaking the tension in the air. Nick was on edge, and Victoria knew exactly why. "Matt," Victoria said, her voice calm but carrying the weight of the situation. Nick didn't turn around. "Matt Clark is still out there. I don't care if we've been dealing with 1,000 other problems. He's not going to be the one who brings this family down." Victoria stepped closer, studying her brother. She could see the anger and frustration in his posture, in the way his hands were clenched by his sides. The Newmans were used to threats, used to enemies. Hell, they practically thrived on conflict. But Matt Clark was different. He wasn't just a threat to business, he was personal. And when it came to personal vendettas, the Newmans had a history of going all in. "I agree," Victoria said, her voice unwavering. "Matt needs to be found, and fast." Nick finally turned to face her, his eyes hard. "I have a plan, a way to get him out in the open." Victoria raised an eyebrow. "What kind of plans?" "A trap," Nick said, his tone sharp. "I'll bait him, lure him out where we can corner him. No more games, no more letting him slip through our fingers." Victoria took a breath, considering the idea. It was risky, but sometimes the only way to handle Matt Clark was with force. He had been a thorn in their side for far too long, and it was time to deal with him once and for all. "I'm in," Victoria said without hesitation. "Let's get it done." Nick's expression softened, but only slightly. "I knew I could count on you." As they began discussing the details of the plan, Nick's mind raced. This wasn't just about protecting the family anymore, it was about proving a point. Matt Clark had taken enough from them, from their father, from everything they had built. It was time to take it all back. But they both knew this wouldn't be easy. Matt wasn't someone you could simply trap. He had a way of slipping through their fingers, of manipulating the situation to his advantage. The Newmans had tried to corner him before, and Matt had always found a way out. "This is going to get messy," Victoria said, breaking through Nick's thoughts. "Are you ready for that?" Nick's jaw clenched. "I don't care how messy it gets, it's time to end this." Meanwhile, across town, Audra Charles was sitting at a table in the coffee house, her mind working furiously. She had been thinking about Sally Spectra and the direction things were headed for weeks now. Ever since Sally had made the decision to go after Newman Media, things had been spiraling out of control. Sally was determined to prove herself, to show she had what it took to take down the Newmans, but Audra wasn't so sure about her plan. She had seen the risks firsthand, and the more she thought about it, the more she believed Sally might be making a mistake. Sally had already been manipulated by Adam Newman and Chelsea Lawson. They had played her for a fool, getting her to believe she could pull off the takeover of Newman Media. But Audra knew better. She had been in the game long enough to see when someone was being used. When Sally had confided in her about the acquisition, Audra had tried to caution her. "Don't rush into this," Audra had warned. "You can't trust the Newmans, not any of them." But Sally had been too caught up in the excitement, in the idea of finally making her mark. She had let her ambition cloud her judgment, and now it looked like she might be about to make a decision she would regret. Audra knew something needed to be done, and she was the only one who could stop Sally before it was too late. She stood up from the table and walked over to Sally's office at Spectra Charles Media. It wasn't long before they were face to face, and Audra could see the uncertainty in Sally's eyes. "You're considering giving up Newman Media, aren't you?" Audra asked, her voice calm but firm. Sally hesitated, then nodded. "I'm not sure what else to do. I thought I had it all figured out, but now it feels like I'm losing control." Audra sat down across from her, leaning forward. "You can't give up, not now. You've worked too hard for this. You need to stand your ground, Sally." Sally sighed. "I'm just not sure I can win this fight." "You can, but you need to play it smart," Audra said. "You're being manipulated by Adam and Chelsea, and they're using you to get what they want. They're not your friends, they're not on your side." Sally's eyes flickered with doubt. "I don't know what to do." Audra leaned in, her gaze intense. "Then don't make the same mistake they want you to make. Don't back down, keep pushing forward, and don't let them control the narrative. You're better than this." Sally was quiet for a moment, processing Audra's words. Then, with a determined look in her eyes, she nodded. "You're right," she said. "I won't give up. I'll fight for this." Audra smiled, feeling a surge of satisfaction. She had done her part to stop Sally from making a dangerous decision, but she knew it wasn't over yet. There were still a lot of obstacles ahead, and the Newmans weren't going to back down easily. Back at Newman Enterprises, Fenmore Baldwin was dealing with her own set of challenges. Phyllis Summers had been making waves ever since she had gained control of Newman Enterprises, and Lauren was caught in the middle. Phyllis wasn't exactly known for her subtlety, and she had made it clear that she wanted Lauren on her side. Phyllis had approached Lauren with an offer that was hard to ignore: join her team at Newman Enterprises and help her solidify her power. Lauren wasn't sure how she felt about the offer. On the one hand, it was a chance to get in on the action, to be part of the new regime at Newman. On the other hand, Phyllis was Phyllis, and Lauren had no doubt that working with her would come with its fair share of headaches. Lauren considered the offer carefully. She had always been a businesswoman first and foremost, but she also knew that Phyllis had a way of getting what she wanted, no matter the cost. She had seen it all before. "I'm not sure this is the right move for me," Lauren said cautiously when Phyllis pressed her for an answer. Phyllis didn't seem fazed. "You're not exactly getting any younger, Lauren. This could be your chance to be part of something big. You know Victor and Adam won't be in control forever. It's only a matter of time before the tides change again." Lauren sighed, leaning back in her chair. "I don't want to be a pawn in your game, Phyllis." Phyllis leaned in, her eyes glinting with determination. "You wouldn't be a pawn, you'd be part of the team, but you have to make a choice: stick with the Newmans or join me." Lauren's mind raced. She had always played it safe in business, but this was an opportunity she couldn't ignore. Phyllis was offering her a chance to be part of something powerful, but at what cost? As Lauren mulled over Phyllis's offer, the situation with Matt Clark continued to loom over the Newman family. Nick and Victoria were making plans to corner Matt, but they knew it wouldn't be easy. Matt wasn't the type to go down without a fight. Nick was determined to make sure Matt didn't escape again, but he knew he needed to be smart about it. They couldn't let their emotions cloud their judgment. The last thing they needed was for Matt to turn the tables on them once again. Victoria had a different perspective. She knew they had to be ruthless. Matt Clark wasn't just a nuisance anymore. He was a threat to everything the Newmans had worked for, and Victoria wasn't going to let him bring their family down. "I'll help you," Victoria said to Nick, her tone resolute. "But we need to be strategic. We need to make Matt think we're not a threat until it's too late." Nick nodded, already piecing together the plan in his mind. They would use Matt's own arrogance against him, make him believe he had the upper hand before they pulled the rug out from under him. It was risky, but it was the only way to make sure they had the advantage. As they continued to strategize, Nick's mind kept wandering back to Chelsea. He had promised her that things would be different this time, that their relationship would work, but he couldn't help the nagging fear that the chaos surrounding the Newmans would tear them apart once again. Meanwhile, Audra continued to play her part, keeping Sally from making a disastrous decision. But Audra's role in this story wasn't over yet. She knew that her position at Audra Charles Media was fragile. She had to keep playing the game, making sure she stayed one step ahead of everyone else. But the game was getting more complicated by the day. The Newmans, Phyllis, Matt Clark, all of them had their own agendas, and Audra knew that sooner or later someone would get hurt. Lauren, still weighing her options, couldn't shake the feeling that she was about to be caught in the middle of something much bigger than herself. Phyllis was a force to be reckoned with, but working with her would come with risks. Still, Lauren couldn't deny the allure of power. The final piece of the puzzle was Matt. He had always been a wild card, someone who had caused chaos in their lives for far too long. But as the plan to catch him in a trap took shape, it became clear that the real challenge wouldn't be getting him to show himself. It would be dealing with the fallout when the trap was sprung. As the days passed, the tension continued to build. Nick, Victoria, and Audra all had their own roles to play, but they were all part of the same larger story. The stakes were higher than ever, and the clock was ticking. Whoever made the first move in this game would set the tone for everything that followed. And as for Chelsea, she had no idea what was coming her way. Adam's past was about to come crashing back into their lives, and with it, everything they had worked for could fall apart in an instant. The young and the restless had only just begun to heat up, and there were more twists to come.